Hi everyone and welcome back to another episode of Speak English with Raksha. I'm Raksha.
And I'm Lohi. Today we are diving into a topic that I'm sure hits close to home for a lot of you. My mind goes blank when I try to speak English.
Oh, this one's a biggie, Lohi. It's that moment when you're all set to speak English. You've rehearsed what you're going to say, maybe even practiced in your head. But as soon as you open your mouth, nothing. Your mind just goes blank.
Exactly. It's like your brain decides to take an unplanned vacation just when you need it the most. You know, Raksha, this reminds me of the time I had my first job interview in English. I had prepared so much, even rehearsed answers in front of the mirror. But when the interviewer asked me the first question, my mind went completely blank. I just stared at him like a deer in headlights.
Oh no, Lohi, what did you do?
Well, I panicked for a second, but then I just blurted out, I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? It bought me a little time to gather my thoughts and I was able to get through it. But that was nerve-wracking.
That's such a relatable story. I had a similar experience when I first moved to Paris. I was in a bakery and I wanted to order a croissant. Simple, right? But when it was my turn, I just froze. My mind went completely blank and I ended up pointing at the display and saying, "One of those, please." The baker gave me the funniest look.
That's priceless. It just goes to show that no matter how prepared you are, sometimes your brain just decides to take a break. But don't worry, today we're going to explore why this happens and share some practical tips to help you keep the conversation going, even when your mind seems to check out.
Absolutely. So if you have ever found yourself in this situation, keep listening, because we've got some great strategies to help you stay cool and confident when speaking English.
All right, let's get into it. First thing, Raksha, why does a mind go blank when we try to speak a foreign language, especially English?
Well, Lohi, it's usually a combination of nerves and cognitive overload. When you're trying to speak a language that's not your native one, your brain is doing a lot of work. It's processing grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and all of that in real time. If you add a little pressure, like speaking in front of someone or trying to impress your boss, your brain can just freeze up. It's like trying to run multiple apps on an old computer. Eventually, something is going to crash.
That makes total sense. It's like trying to juggle too many balls at once. Eventually, one or two are going to hit the ground. And let's be honest, the fear of making mistakes doesn't help either. You're so worried about saying the wrong thing that your brain just says, you know what, I'm out of here.
Exactly. So let's talk about how to overcome this blank mind syndrome. One great tip is to prepare some go-to phrases in advance. Think of them as your safety net. If your mind goes blank, you can rely on these phrases to keep the conversation going. For example, if you're struggling to find the right words, you could say, "Let me think about that for a moment," or "I'm not sure how to say this." But these phrases buy you time and keep the conversation going.
That is such a useful tip. It's like having a lifeline when you're stuck. Let's try a quick example. Imagine you're in a meeting and someone asks for your opinion on a project. Instead of panicking, you could say, "That's a great question. Let me take a second to gather my thoughts." This gives you a moment to breathe and think before diving into your answer.
Exactly. And here's another tip. Practice speaking in low-pressure situations. The more you practice, the more comfortable you'll get. Start by talking to yourself in the mirror or narrating your day, even chatting with a pet. For example, you might say, "I'm making breakfast now. I need to fry some eggs and make coffee." These low-pressure situations help you get used to speaking without the fear of judgment.
That's a great way to build confidence. I remember when I first started learning Italian, I would practice by narrating everything I was doing. I would say things like, "Now I'm brushing my teeth," or "I'm going to the store to buy some bread." It felt a bit silly at first, but it really helped me get used to forming sentences in Italian.
That's a great example, Lohi. And if you want to make it even more fun, try shadowing exercises. This is where you listen to native speakers and repeat what they say as closely as possible. It's like being their shadow. You copy their pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm. Let's say you're watching an episode of your favorite show in English. Pick a character and try to mimic everything they say. This not only helps with pronunciation, but also with fluency.
Oh, I've done that before. I used to shadow characters from TV shows to practice my English accent. I remember trying to mimic Joey from Friends, with his humorous tone. "How you doing?" It was a lot of fun and it really helped me improve my accent and intonation.
That's awesome, Lohi. And speaking of tools, here's another essential tip. Focus on the message, not the exact words. Sometimes we get so caught up in trying to find the perfect word that we lose sight of what we're trying to communicate. Remember, the goal is to get your message across. Let's say you forget the word refrigerator. Instead of freezing up, you could say the thing in the kitchen that keeps food cold. It might not be perfect, but it gets the point across.
That is a great point, Raksha. It reminds me of the time I was trying to describe a microwave in Spanish. I couldn't remember the word, so I said, the box that makes food hot quickly. The person I was talking to laughed, but they understood what I meant. It's all about improvising when necessary.
Exactly. And that brings us to another key tip. Learn to breathe and slow down when your mind goes blank. It's easy to start rushing and getting flustered, but slowing down gives you time to think and reduces the pressure. For instance, if you're giving a presentation and lose your train of thought, just pause, take a deep breath, and then continue. Your audience will appreciate the clarity and you'll feel more in control.
Yes, speaking slowly can make a huge difference. You're not in a race, so take your time. And here's a fun tip. Use humor to diffuse the situation. If you forget a word or stumble, laugh it off. For example, if you mix up desert and dessert, you could say, well, I guess I was craving sand instead of cake. It takes the pressure off and shows that you're confident enough to handle mistakes.
That's such good advice. And honestly, most people will appreciate your effort and won't mind if you make a few mistakes. They might even help you out by suggesting the word you're looking for.
That's such good advice. And honestly, most people will appreciate your effort and won't mind if you make a few mistakes. They might even help you out by suggesting the word you're looking for.
Exactly. And here's something else to remember. Visualize success before you speak. Take a moment to picture yourself confidently having the conversation. Visualization can be a powerful tool to help reduce anxiety and boost your confidence. Imagine yourself in a meeting, speaking fluently and engagingly, and your mind is less likely to freeze up when the time comes.
Visualization is such a powerful technique. It's like rehearsing in your mind before the actual performance. And speaking of preparation, let's not forget the importance of expanding your vocabulary. Sometimes our minds go blank simply because we don't have the words we need. The more vocabulary you know, the easier it is to express yourself. For instance, if you're learning words related to business, make sure you know different ways to talk about profits, losses, negotiations, and so on. This way, you won't get stuck searching for the right word in the middle of a conversation.
That's a great point. And one way to build your vocabulary is by reading regularly. It doesn't have to be complicated text. Even reading a short news article or a blog post each day can introduce you to new words and phrases. Then try to use those new words and sentences throughout the day. For example, if you learn the word negotiation, you might say, I have a negotiation with a client tomorrow, even if you're just practicing by yourself.
Absolutely. And here's another tip related to vocabulary. Group your new words into themes. For example, learn all the words related to cooking one week, like stir, boil, bake, and then practice them by talking about your favorite recipes. The next week, you could focus on words related to travel, like luggage, boarding pass, departure, and use them in sentences about a trip you've taken or plan to take.
Themed vocabulary learning is a game changer. It helps you remember words better because they're all related and you're more likely to use them together in conversation. Plus, it's much more interesting to learn vocabulary in context rather than just memorizing random words.
Exactly. And the more words you have at your disposal, the less likely your mind will go blank. So to all our listeners out there, don't worry if your mind goes blank sometimes. It happens to everyone, even native speakers.
The important thing is to keep practicing, stay positive, and use the tips we have shared today to keep moving forward.
Yes, remember, speaking a new language is a journey, and every conversation is a step in the right direction. So be kind to yourself and don't be afraid to make mistakes. They're all part of the process.
And with that, we're wrapping up today's episode. We hope these tips help you the next time your mind goes blank while speaking English. And we'd love to hear from you what tips or strategies have helped you in similar situations.
Yes, share your thoughts with us in the comments or on social media. We're all in this together, and your experiences might just help someone else.
Thanks for tuning in to Speak English with Raksha. Keep practicing, stay confident, and remember, you've got this.
Until next time, take care and keep speaking English with Raksha.